So namaste everyone. Once again, the season 2 has been started with again our very own one of the most prominent fund manager and the CIO of Tata Mutual Fund, Mr. Rahul Singh sir. And this time again, he certainly will going to give us a lot of insight about the market because now the market is having a lot many other issues. So ज़्यादा समय खराब ना करते हुए, let's I'll come to directly the first question with Rahul sir. Sir, welcome. First of all, welcome to the show, sir. एंड द फर्स्ट सीजन वाज रियली सक्सेसफुल. हम लोगों को बहुत इंसाइट मिला आपसे बिकॉज ऑफ यू. प्रॉब्ली मैं कुछ डेयर कर पाया था काफी सारे सीईओज को शो पे लेकर आने के लिए. सो मेनी थैंक्स फॉर दैट सीरियसली.
Thank you, Deep ji, for the trust shown in me, and it's a privilege to be part of starting the season 2 with you. So I'm very happy.
Thank you, sir. So coming directly, sir, ये क्वेश्चन अगेन बहुत ही कॉमन है आपके लिए एंड आई नो दैट हर टीवी चैनल पे जब भी आप जाते हैं फिर जिस भी जगह आप जाते हैं तो द सेम क्वेश्चन व्हिच इज गेटिंग आस्क्ड, बट दिस इज टाइम लिटिल डिफरेंट क्योंकि ऑलमोस्ट 1.5 साल हो गया है. 7 से लेके 25% के आसपास के इंडाइसेस आज भी डाउन है. सो आपका एक आउटलुक बाजार पे क्या लगता है आपको?
देखिए बाजार में there are two things happening in the Indian equity markets. First of all, हमारी जो इकोनॉमी है, it is doing better than the other markets. We are still growing at 6%, whereas there is a talk of slowdown and recession in other markets. दूसरी बात ये है कि इंडिया को काफी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इन्वेस्टमेंट्स और काफी सारे इन्वेस्टमेंट्स इंडिया में आने की उम्मीद है बिकॉज everyone wants to move away from China. So एक इन्वेस्टमेंट साइकिल रिवाइवल जिसको हम बोलते हैं, वो एक बहुत बड़ा थीम डेवलप होके उभर के सामने आ रहा है. एंड दिस इज अ थीम व्हिच इफ इट स्टार्ट्स एंड इफ इट कैचेस ऑन, इट्स अ 5-10 year theme. It is not 6 month or a 1 year theme only. So to that extent, the confidence on the Indian economy and the way it is positioned in the world today from a geopolitical point of view is an extremely interesting situation. So all that is very positive. बट दूसरी तरफ क्या हो रहा है कि देखिए इंटरेस्ट रेट जब भी हाई होते हैं वो इक्विटी के लिए नेगेटिव होता है.
बराबर.
तो एक तरफ तो हमारी प्रॉफिट ग्रोथ और इन्वेस्टमेंट साइकिल रिवाइवल जो है एक जीडीपी ग्रोथ रेट को सस्टेन्ड 6.5% पे रखने में पॉसिबल करेगी. बट ऑन द अदर हैंड द इंटरेस्ट रेट इंक्रीज इज पुटिंग अ डैम्पनर ऑन द वैल्यूएशन.
बराबर.
एंड ये जो टसल चल रहा है, ये जो टग ऑफ वॉर चल रही है बिटवीन इंटरेस्ट रेट्स एंड गुड फंडामेंटल्स, दिस विल कंटिन्यू.
अभी लगता है इंटरेस्ट रेट रुकते हुए नजर आ रहे हैं आपको? सॉरी टू इंटरप्ट यू.
इंटरेस्ट रेट्स देखिए रुकते हुए तो नजर आ रहे हैं, लेकिन वेदर दे विल immediately come down or they will come down after 12 months, 24 months, nobody is sure. What we are sure is that the interest rate hikes might stop in the US. India में तो already it has stopped. In the US, it might stop after 3 months or 6 months. But whether it stays there for another 12 months or whether immediately starts to come down, it's anybody's guess. The other way to think about is that when the interest rates does start coming down, it will be because US is entering a recession or is actually showing negative GDP growth. And that also is not essentially a very good news. So one has to be very careful in not getting too excited कि अरे interest rates गिरने वाले हैं तो equities के लिए positive ही होगा. ऐसा कोई it is not necessary. In fact, in the initial stages of interest rate cuts, if it is because of significantly deeper recession than what we are expecting in the US, then it is negative initial. Okay. So ये सब uncertainties हैं globally. Point is that these are uncertainties which are still not clear one way or the other. It take another 6-12 months to become clear. In that time, the interest rates are going to be moderately high, not very high, but moderately high. We are not going back to जो यूएस में हमने 1.5% 10-year बॉन्ड यील्ड देखा था, वहां तो हम नहीं जा रहे वापस. क्वेश्चन है कि हम 3% पे जा रहे हैं या 4.5% पे जा रहे हैं. सो जो भी सिचुएशन हो उसकी वजह से वैल्यूएशन पे फर्क तो पड़ रहा है. सो हमारा जो व्यू ये है कि देखिए दो चीजें होंगी इसमें. एक तो ये वैल्यूएशन में और टाइम करेक्शन हो सकता है, स्पेशली इन इंडिया, बिकॉज इंडियन प्रॉफिट्स आर ग्रोइंग बट वैल्यूएशन इज कमिंग अंडर प्रेशर. Already, मैं अगर देखूं from November 21 to now, our valuation is down from 21 times P to 18 times P. तो ऑलरेडी 1 ईयर फॉरवर्ड भी हमारी कम हो चुकी है, लेकिन 18 का 17 भी हो सकता है, एंड दैट कैन हैपन बिकॉज ऑफ टाइम करेक्शन. But I think good thing is that, as I said, economy is changing from being consumption driven only to consumption plus investment driven.
Wow.
And also, I think valuation discipline is coming. तो ये दोनों चीजें जब साथ में होती हैं तो for active fund managers like ours and especially हमारी जो philosophy है टाटा में वो growth at reasonable price है, तो हम लोग काफी disciplined valuation discipline में believe करते हैं. And that I think is a positive thing for not only us, for any fund manager who is more bottoms up valuation discipline, has a valuation discipline, and does not have the attitude of growth at any price. I think those things will help us in doing better than the markets. Even if market is flat, we are very confident in the current scenario that we'll be able to do a good job of giving a performance which can beat the benchmark.
हाँ, वो दिख भी रहा है, मतलब अपने सारे टाटा के अक्रॉस फंड और मतलब फंड्स में इट इज रिफ्लेक्टिंग. सर मेरा सेकंड क्वेश्चन है कि जैसे आपने थोड़ी देर पहले कहा, बिकॉज द रिसेशन इज कमिंग अक्रॉस लॉट ऑफ डेटा इज कमिंग, काफी ले ऑफ्स हो रहे हैं अक्रॉस, मतलब कभी इन शॉर्ट ओपन करके देखो तो ले ऑफ्स की लाइन लगी रहती है कंपनियों में. ऐसे माहौल में व्हाट यू फील कि जब बाहर में जो डेटा दिख रहा है वो दिख रहा है कि हाँ यहाँ पे तो 100% डिसीजन आएगा. अब इंडिया के लोगों का भी तो क्वेश्चन है कि भाई हमारी इकोनॉमी भी काफी सारी बाहर पे डिपेंड है, तो हमारे रिसेशन क्यों नहीं आएगा? एक दो तीन बहुत फंडामेंटल रीजंस या आने के
तो
चांसेस
जैसा कि मैं जैसा कि मैंने बोला, देखिए यूएस में जो रिसेशन है वो टेक्नोलॉजी में ज्यादा अभी ले ऑफ्स या जॉब लॉसेस हो रहे हैं, क्योंकि वहां पे क्या हुआ था कि एक्सेसेस वेर आल्सो a lot in terms of the way private equity money and everyone spent very recklessly. India में कुछ हद तक वो कम है. We don't have that kind of dependence on easy money or private equity money which led people to overspend. There was little bit, but it is in small pockets. Secondly, I think the difference between India and the rest of the world is that we are at a very different point of time in the cycle. So you look at our banks. Our banks are the healthiest today in the last 10 years I have seen. Our corporate sector balance sheet is the healthiest I have seen in the last 10, 12 years.
Amazing.
And if I compare it with, say, US, other developed markets, or even China, वहाँ पे situation काफी उल्टी है. That banks are not necessarily the strongest. We recently saw in the episode of which happened in. Similarly, in China, we all know that it's at the corporate level, at the household level, also debt is much higher than in India.
Sorry.
So if there is a recession, if there is a slowdown in the US and the developed market, I'm not saying that there will be no impact on India. There will be impact on India through IT services mainly and from other exports. But जो हमारी जो core strength है, that is still very different. And also what is happening, like I was mentioning, because of geopolitics, the investments, or everyone is looking at India not to become the next China, but an alternative to China in terms of supplies. After the Russia-Ukraine war, the world is very scared that if the same thing happens in China, Taiwan, then there is a lot of dependence which the world has on China. We are already seeing, for example, Europe making noise that we need not follow US in terms of our China policy. There are a lot of dynamics which are helping India right now in getting investments, not only from companies like Apple, which obviously makes news, but also from engineering companies. We are seeing so many engineering companies committing to setting up more capacity in India, so that वो इंडिया को अपने मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एक्सपोर्ट्स के लिए यूज कर सके. तो ये सब काफी पावरफुल ट्रेंड्स हैं, जो कि जैसा कि मैंने बोला वो एक साल का ट्रेंड नहीं है, ये 5, 10 साल 20 साल वाले ट्रेंड्स हैं. And that is an interesting thing to remember when you think of India today versus 2008. 2008 we were very weak in terms of bank balance sheet, corporate balance sheet. Now we are not that way. And that time we were not getting any benefit of any geopolitical situation. Now we are getting that benefit, which will help us, you know, contain the damage from any global recession.
Right. सर एक आपने थोड़ी देर पहले कि वैल्यूएशन की बात हमने की थी, मतलब आपने की थी, तो वैल्यूएशन वाइज आपको बाजार कैसा लगता है? 100 में से कितना रुपया आज की तारीख में इक्विटीज में डालना चाहिए, फिर कितना डेट में रखना चाहिए? एट द सेम टाइम वुड यू फील कि सेक्टर स्पेसिफिक या सेगमेंट स्पेसिफिक क्या आपको नजर आती है चीजें?
So, equity allocation, equity and debt allocation obviously depends on the person and the age and the income profile and how much risk he can take. But I would say broadly, so for example, our Balanced Advantage Fund is a product where we are running today at between 55% equity allocation. I think for an average investor, 50 to 60% equity allocation is a good allocation today, considering all the factors. So one need not be very negative, one need not be very aggressive in today's context. As far as sectors are concerned, I think banking as a sector is still looking reasonably valued. The other sector which I like is manufacturing and infrastructure all put together. So it's a very broad list. But मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में जो चेंजेस हो रही हैं, जैसा कि मैंने बोला, इंडिया में जो इन्वेस्टमेंट्स रिवाइवल की बात हो रही है, या मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर में जो रिवाइवल हमें दिख रहा है, वो काफी इम्पोर्टेंट थीम हो सकती है. और ये दोनों सेक्टर्स में मुझे लगता है कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड बैंकिंग and manufacturing, I think these are the themes to be positive on. The other theme, which is a smaller theme, which we are positive on, is healthcare, because while India is a young country, in the next 5 to 10 years, we will also age. So when we look at the sector of healthcare, whether it's hospitals, diagnostics, those are also can be sectors which can keep growing for the next 5 to 10 years.
Super. सर एक शुरुआत में हम लोगों ने जो बात करी थी, सो वी नो दैट एवरीबॉडी नो दैट टाटा फंड्स आर ऑल टॉप क्वार्टाइल फंड्स एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. सो व्हाट इज द सीक्रेट सक्सेस ऑफ दिस डिसिप्लिन ऑफ टाटा's फंड्स एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम?
दीप जी, उसमें सीक्रेट कुछ नहीं है. वी आर एक्चुअली, as I have been saying, and maybe in the last session also we had that we are growth at reasonable price investors. Plus, valuation discipline is very important. It's not that we are deep value investors. हम जो valuation discipline के साथ growth सर्च करते हैं, and उसमें हमारे जो क्राइटेरियाज हैं valuation के, वो क्राइटेरियाज एक बार फुलफिल हो गए, तो फिर हम ये देखते हैं कि वो कंपनीज कैन दे बाउंस बैक ऑन ग्रोथ. Sometimes the valuations are depressed because the growth expectations have come down. But based on our analysis and understanding, if we think the valuations are reasonable and if the companies can bounce back on growth, then we get that alpha. Similarly, so therefore in our portfolios, you will not see very expensive stocks in the top 10. You'll never see, even not only for 4-5 years, but even if you go back earlier. Now, fortunately, the market, because of the interest rate movements, is also becoming more valuation conscious and valuation disciplined. So to that extent, our philosophy and our way of thinking is also becoming more mainstream. And when that happens, and you since you are ahead of everyone else because you were always following this philosophy, I think that itself is helping. And obviously we have to do our jobs well. We have to pick the right stocks, right sector from a longer term perspective. So that also we have to do all the time well. So it is not a guarantee that because of high interest rates, our philosophy will do well. But I would say a combination of our own, a good team of fund managers which we have, as well as the valuation disciplined approach. I think these two combinations have worked well over the last couple of years.
Sir, I would even request you to please speak something a little more about the Balanced Advantage, because it is one of the fantastic fund at this point of time in the entire category and doing amazingly great. And let's the people can really have the benefit directly from you to listen how you do what that secrets in this particular fund because this so serious even मैं भी बहुत अच्छे से बेचता हूँ. So request you to please have some little more insight about this fund.
Yeah, so our balanced advantage fund, first of all, as a category, like I mentioned, it's an ideal fund in this scenario because you get to take advantage of the volatility in equity, and you also get the benefit of debt, and especially जब debt में taxation, pure debt funds में taxation increase हो चुका है, तो balance advantage fund के जरिए आप you can have at least 35% exposure in debt without at equity taxation. That's an additional advantage which has come, which was not there earlier. Even if that was not there, it's something which we have been very positive on last 2-3 years as a category. And the way we manage Tata Balanced Advantage Fund is that there are two differences between our model and other models. First of all, we take an average of trailing P and forward P.
Wow.
What we realized is that हम जब ट्रेलिंग पी लेते हैं तो in some scenarios जैसे कोविड या डिमोनेटाइजेशन ट्रेलिंग पी मीनिंगलेस हो जाता है क्योंकि फ्यूचर में जो चेंजेस हो रही हैं वो फ्यूचर में प्रॉफिट एक्सपेक्टेशन, तो इसलिए हमने जो बैंड्स बनाई हैं इक्विटी थ्रेशोल्ड या इक्विटी एलोकेशन चेंज करने के लिए, वो हमने ट्रेलिंग और फॉरवर्ड पी का एवरेज लेके हमने वो बैंड बनाया. सो दैट इज पॉइंट नंबर 1. And that is the core of our model. That is 80% of our model. The second part of the model, which is a smaller 20% part of the model, is comprising the technical and momentum indicators, where we have a set of 5 indicators, not only momentum, but a mix of technical momentum, volatility, global markets. से हम एक स्कोर निकालते हैं हर हफ्ते, और उससे अगर हमें पॉजिटिव या नेगेटिव सिग्नल्स आते हैं, so then we add or subtract to the core allocation which we are getting from the first part of the bond. So, for example, average of trailing और forward P के basis पे अगर हमें equity allocation 50% आती है, लेकिन momentum technical indicator से हमें negative signal आता है, तो 50 - 5 45 जा सकते हैं, या अगर positive आया तो 50 + 5 55 जा सकते हैं. तो ये रेंज बाउंड मार्केट में इतना हेल्प नहीं करता है जितना जैसे कि हमने पिछले 9-12 महीने देखा है, बट when it's a trending market up or down, then it optimizes the return for Tata BAF, because then it allows me to stay in equities for a little bit longer and not enter equities earlier than required. So these are the two changes or two different parts of the model which I think I wanted to highlight as something which I think is helping our model do better.
Super good. So even sir, मुझे लगता है मतलब I don't know, I may be wrong. So in a short term markets also, let's say not even not in trending but in flat market also, when it is a 5% 6% का अगर let's say up and down चल रहा है, so I believe that time also you must be getting some or other upside or downside of the equities. Is it? No.
Yes, yes. Sometimes even in that I get some signals which are helping, but they are not big signals because it's a range bound market.
जैसे अभी हो गया है 16,900 से 17,800 का रेंज हो गया है.
Correct, correct. So that at this point of time, my effort is to obviously catch those minor volatility, but it's not adding too much alpha. The major part is to identify good stocks, bottom up stocks, because जैसा मैंने बोला, I think market भी थोड़ा bottom up stock specific हो गया है. So now my opportunity in BAF also, because my BAF is medium size BAF, I have the opportunity to also take more stock specific calls. So this is the market like that, and try and generate alpha from that. तो अगर मुझे इक्विटी एलोकेशन चेंजेस से ज्यादा अल्फा नहीं आ रही है, तो मैं स्टॉक सिलेक्शन से अल्फा लाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ.
Sir, एक जाते हैं the last question. There are a lot of people those who are having little less patience, and लोगों के बहुत सारे लोगों के पेशेंस छूट रहे हैं बिकॉज 1.5-2 साल हो गए रिटर्न जनरेट नहीं हुआ है, और जिन लोगों ने वो 18,600 पे पैसा डाला था उनका आज पैसा तो निगेटिव है. अच्छा, बहुत सारे ऐसे नए लोग भी आए थे जिन्होंने पैसा डाला था एंड देन समहाउ जिन लोगों ने एसेट एलोकेशन नहीं किया उनका तो निगेटिव है ही है. सो योर मैसेज टू दोस पीपल कि मतलब उन्होंने हाउ दे कैन होल्ड देमसेल्व्स.
I think, see, all I can say is that next 6 months is a good time to allocate because this sideways movement is continuing. But sideways movement is also happening when outlook for India is improving on a relative basis. तो ये अपॉर्चुनिटी अगर मैं 3 साल के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखूं तो ये बार बार नहीं आती है।
वाह।
कि आपको ऐसा कोई पीरियड मिल रहा हो जहां इंडिया के प्रति सब पॉजिटिव हैं लेकिन वैल्यूएशन एडजस्टमेंट अभी अभी चल रही है। तो मुझे लगता है कि अगले 6 से 9 महीने में हमें एलोकेशंस बिल्कुल रखने चाहिए और एसआईपी करना चाहिए। एंड कैपिटल प्रोटेक्शन के लिए आप बैफ में तो रख ही सकते हैं, तो बैफ प्लस एसआईपी आई थिंक शुड कंटिन्यू।
Thank you, sir. Sir, thanks a lot. It was such a great insight and millions of thanks once again, sir, accepting my request. फिर वापस जब सीजन 3 चालू होगा तो अगेन आई वुड बी रिक्वेस्टिंग यू टू अगेन इनॉग्रेट दिस सीजन 3.
थैंक यू दीप जी, इट वाज अ प्लेजर एंड all the best to you and all your viewers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you.